Adrian Aberdeen will talk to us about balcony Astro-Imaging, reaching new heights. And Adrian is a first-time speaker, so welcome. Hopefully we'll see you again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adrian Aberdeen, and my title of my topic is Balcony Astro-Imaging, Reaching New Heights. Now, a little bit about myself before I start. I grew up in a small country in the Caribbean called Grenada. It's about 100,000 people at the time when I was there. I spent half my life there. And actually, this house right here is a house that my brother and my mom and myself grew up in. So I remember getting up in the morning and the sun would be on one side of our house, and then in the evenings, the sun would be on the other side of the house. That's how small Grenada is. And I remember at night, we would look out and see the stars. And at that time, I was a kid, so I didn't really know exactly what everything was. But I always had an intriguing view into what stars were since I was a kid. And I don't mean to make you guys feel a little bit under the weather, but this is the view that we normally have every night when the sun is going down. I snapped these two pictures actually 2 years ago when my brother and I went. My dad passed away, and we went back for the funeral. And while we were there, I snapped these pictures. But growing up, I would imagine the Milky Way across the ocean, the Caribbean Sea, and possibly, I don't remember, but this probably is what it looked like. And as I grew up, I kind of got into trying to figure out what stars were about, what the universe was about, what life was about, and it drew me easily into astronomy. And so 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago really, I decided I'm going to look into buying a telescope. And the first thing that my wife said was, "Where are you going to put it?" And I said, "The balcony. Why not, right?" So this is my balcony. It is 16 feet by 4.5 feet. I measured it. The entire thing is not actually usable. So right in the corner, right here is a door. So pretty much I have this much to use. And these little markings here are actually where I put my tripod to try to remember exactly where everything is every time. This is the view looking out. So I'm on the second floor of my balcony, of my building. And this is facing west. That's facing the south. And there is facing the north. So I actually can see Polaris from where I am, which is one of the first things that anyone who gets into astrophotography knows. You need to be able to see Polaris to get your polar alignment in the place. So I had to figure out something. And the way I figured it out was pretty much over trial and error. When I bought my rig, over a few months actually it took me to really figure out exactly what I was doing and how to do it. And so that led me, this is my view at night, which is not that very good. I could have seen Jupiter that night when I was there. I don't remember which planet or star this was at the time, but that's Jupiter. So I do have an awesome view at night, an even better view when it snows. This was taken 2 weeks ago. And the pièce de résistance is this. This is my balcony right here. I have two giant spotlights that are sitting right next to me as I image. And I'll get to some of the issues that I ran into while trying to get this to work later on in my presentation. So this is what it looks like at night. That's my son Ethan. He's about 3.5 now. And one of the things he realized is as soon as Daddy got his telescope, he wanted his own telescope. So I had no choice but to go out and buy a scope for him. So unfortunately, he broke it in 2 weeks, within 2 weeks of getting it. So it didn't last too long. But that's him trying to enjoy his time out on the balcony with me. And that's me here with the scope. This was last Friday. I took that. Now, a little bit about the setup that I have. It is a Celestron C-GEM mount. Anyone who doesn't know, C-GEM is a German equatorial mount, which rotates as the sky rotates. So you don't have to worry about moving the scope or anything. Everything just moves as the sky rotates around. And then I purchased also a Celestron Edge 800 series 8-inch telescope to go with it. And I'll get a little bit more into that later on. One of the reasons why I purchased the CGEM mount as well as the Edge telescope is it's both good for visual as well as astroimaging. This picture was actually taken here at the Science Center last August during the eclipse. And so I had everything set up. And then later on that evening, everything was set up for astroimaging at night. Some of the things that you require when you're doing astroimaging, especially when you're doing it through an SCT, which is a Schmidt-Cassegrain telescope, instead of a refractor, is the focal ratio. You need to bring it down. So I do have installed a focal reducer on here. This is my ZW ASI 1600 camera. This is a cooled camera on here with a filter wheel. And then for auto guiding, anyone who doesn't know what auto guiding is, it pretty much allows you the mount to basically make adjustments as you go throughout the night. So if there's any major changes or any shaking, it helps to guide you as you go along and you don't have any trailing stars. So just quickly about the CGEM mount, it's a sturdy 2-inch tripod with a 40-pound capacity. I needed that actually because once I put everything together, I actually get up to, I think, about 24 pounds with my entire rig. So it is quite heavy and you need a sturdy mount for that. Again, with the Edge, one of the reasons why I bought it is actually has a very flat field built in. So there's an additional piece of glass that's inside of it that makes the entire field flat throughout. So you have pinpoint stars all the way in the middle, all the way out. A little bit about the camera that I use. Again, it's a ZWO. It's a cooled camera, so it helps to reduce the amount of noise that's in your pictures as you stack them. It has a large sensor for great resolution, a high dynamic range, which is really good for shorter exposures. And anyone who doesn't know about this is because we live in Toronto, we have a lot of light pollution. It goes beyond saying. The odds are you're going to see a handful of stars if you look outside the night skies every night. And so when you're doing astroimaging, some of the light, the pollution soaks into your pictures. So it's better if you're in the city to use shorter exposures. Therefore, you get a little bit less light pollution in your pictures. And this camera is great for that. And actually, it's one of the most popular brand of cameras that's on the market right now. A lot of professional guys, when I say, well, professional amateurs, if you will, are using this kind of camera. And this actually is what's called a narrow band camera. So it actually is not a color camera. It's a narrow band. So it actually just, all it takes is light pictures, if you will. And then what you do is you use a filter system where you switch around the filters and you get different wavelengths of light. Call me lazy. I don't care. I invested a little bit into the Arizona microcharge system, which is an autofocusing system. So what this allows me to do is I can sit back in the comfort of my living room while the rig is outside, and I can actually make adjustments when it comes to my focusing instead of having to go up to the scope every time and change the focusing. Because anyone who doesn't know, as the temperature changes, the air inside of the tube also changes as well. And then you get fluctuations, and so your stars might be pinpoints in 1 hour, and then it might be a little bit oval in the next hour. So you do need to have it. The software program that I use to capture my image is called APT, which is the Astrophotography tool. It is a free tool that anyone can purchase. It's very easy to use, which is one of the reasons why I like it. Some other photographers go in and they use more expensive, more in-depth kind of programs. I like free, so I decided that I'm going to use this and I've never turned back from it. As I mentioned earlier, there is a part of where you have to do the auto guiding. So what this is pretty much helps you to basically control the way the mount moves throughout the picture. And then I do have an autofocusing controller that I use as well. So I go out on the balcony, I take my pictures, and then I have to put everything together. And what I use to put everything together is a free tool. Again, I do like free. So it's a program called Deep Sky Stacker. And what you do is you put all of your pictures in. You put your light pictures in, which is the colors the filter that you use. And then you put other calibration pictures. Not to get into too much details, but that's what you pretty much do. And it gives you a full-on packet of things you can do as well. A new program that I actually just recently started using is called Pix Inside. This is not free, and it is actually quite expensive, but it is worth it. I will say this, I'm very happy that I purchased it. It is one shop, like all things that you can want to do with your pictures, you can do in there, including stacking the pictures, the same thing that Deep Sky Stacker can do. You can do it in here as well in Pix Inside. And then from there, you can go in and start making changes to your pictures, changing your curves and things like that, like this. And then also putting in some color in your pictures if you wish to. This is M8, the Lagoon Nebula. Recognize it? I do. It's right there. This is also M8, the Lagoon Nebula. I took these pictures back in July of last year. This is actually just only 48 pictures in H alpha, hydrogen alpha, at 120 seconds each. I actually had an epiphany over the weekend. A few weeks ago, Paul Markov invited me to speak tonight. And I'm saying to myself, okay, what am I going to present? Like, well, how am I going to get this all together? I had some pictures that I'd done in the summer and the fall, and I said, okay, well, I'll put those in there. And then I'm actually I have 7 other friends of mine that are in an email group that I got invited to by Jeff Booth, which is here as well. And over the weekend, well, we go back and forth with things that we do in our pictures. We get feedback from each other. We share pictures and things like that. And over the weekend, one of the members helped me so much that I went back and I was able to get a better picture and a better image out of the data that I use to basically pull out as much details as possible. This is M16, which is the Eagle Nebula, and this is our AKA, the Pillars of Creation. This nebula was actually made popular by the Hubble Space Telescope, and this area here is a part which are called the Pillars of Creation. I took this picture back in late August, early September of last year. It was actually a very trying time. Because I remember staying there on the balcony for hours on end, trying to get things to work. At that time, actually, we had a lot of air pollution over the city of Toronto because of the fires that was going on in Alberta. And so for a good month or so, we had just a white film of smoke in the air. And unfortunately, some of it did seep into my pictures, if you look around here. But I tried my best to image as much as possible and try to get in. This was actually my first edit, back when I didn't know necessarily what I was doing. And I uploaded this to the RASC website forum, as well as on Cloudy Nights, which is both of them are great resources for feedback. And if you are considering getting into astrophotography, I would definitely suggest that you get on those forums and help out. And based on the feedback that I got, I was able to go back and redo the M16 with Eagle Nebula. This is just about 5 hours of exposure time in there. I'll be honest with you, over getting on the weekend, I actually tried to recreate what I did, and I couldn't. So sometimes it's better to just leave it the way it is and just move on than trying to redo what you did. Thanks to the RASC last November, I was asked if they can use my picture to put into the Scope magazine that we get every month. And I said, absolutely, go ahead. This was pretty much the most frustrating picture that I took, but it's also the most satisfying as well. Now, a little bit about things that can go wrong. So this is a Dumbbell Nebula, which a lot of people know. And I took these back, I believe, in October, if I'm not mistaken. So in this, what I've done is I've actually done 3 wavelengths of light, which is a hydrogen alpha, oxygen 3, and sulfur 2. And what this allows me to do is, based on the program that I use, I can put in the filters, the lights, in different channels, light channels. So in this case, the red channel is hydrogen alpha, the blue channel is oxygen 3, and the green channel is sulfur 2. And then you go around and you play around a little bit more with the same data. Nothing changes really, but you just get different results. And that's one of the great things about shooting in narrowband. It is very subjective. Whomever it is that's creating the picture is the one who's going to make the decision exactly what it is they're going to put in there and how it's going to be presented. And so you can, the floor is yours. You can decide exactly what you want to do, how much you want to do it. You can blow this up, you can blow it down. And when I said earlier, this is when you can know things can go wrong. If you notice a little bit about here, it's a little bit too much stretching in the pictures. So then I have to dumb this down. Also, I have spikes. And those spikes are actually detracting from some of the issues that are wrong with the picture as well. If you see the halos around the star. So even if something does go wrong, there are ways that you can try to fix it. And this is my latest creation. This is the M42, which is the Orion Nebula, aka everyone's favorite. If anyone says that they don't know what the Orion Nebula is, then they're lying, because it is one of the most popular and most photographed images in the night sky. I took this last Friday, which was the first clear night that wasn't cold in the last 2 months, if you will. And so I got out of the balcony. I had some emails going back and forth with some of the guys. We were just going back and forth. And one of the things that the guys helped me was in knowing how to pull out the details in the dust lanes here. This is a trapezium, which a lot of people don't know. It's one of the hardest things to get rid of, because you have a lot of gas, and then you have 4 stars in this area that are very bright. And so one of the things that the guys were able to help me out with was to be able to bring that down and get rid of some of the dust and bring out the trapezium in that area. And then you can do things like add a little bit of color in there, and just shows off a little bit more. So what about you? If I can do this, anyone can do this. I'll be honest with you, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing when I got into this. My wife was always, "What are you doing? When are you coming to bed?" There are times when I went, and I would start, because I really started in the summer of last year. There are times I would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd have to get up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock to get to work. And I would be dead tired. I could be dead on my feet. But I loved it. I just honestly just got a kick out of it, getting into it. And it's one of the things that for years I've been trying to find a hobby that I really can sink my teeth in. And I think I finally found it in doing astrophotography and getting into astronomy in general as well. I sit sometimes and I listen to some of the presenters, and I soak everything in because I just love this stuff. But if anyone is interested in getting into this, it's quite easy. You don't need all the equipment that I have. You can get very easily get into this. I took this picture here up at the Carr Observatory up in Collingwood that we have access to. This was done on a DSLR camera and a tripod. The tripod was just a normal tripod. The DSLR was an unmodified camera. And actually, during this time, I actually had my full rig going in the TNO, the Tony Horvatin Observatory, which is right next to where I was standing when I took this picture. And everything was going, and I sat there, and I couldn't get anything to work. And I'm there, and I'm frustrated because we took the time off to get up to the observatory, and I'm trying to figure out what am I doing wrong. And then I took this picture, and this made it all worth it, because I'm like, okay, I got something to remember, as opposed to it being just a total waste of time. And it really wasn't. The opportunity of going to the Carr Observatory, if anyone wants to go, it is definitely worth going up there and seeing some brighter skies that we normally see from Toronto. You can see the Milky Way and everything in there. And even simpler, this is the picture that I thanks. This is the picture that I took just before the blue moon, full moon that we had at the end of January. And this was a fluke, a complete fluke. I came home, it was like 6:30. I told my wife I'm going to go outside for a second. I took the tripod, I took the camera. I went outside and I'm starting to frame everything together. And I'm taking a bunch of shots, changing settings on the camera. And then I looked down and I was like, what is that? And I zoomed in and it's a plane. And I was like, wow! Like things, I mean, it's just crazy how things happen. We really don't expect it. And then later on, a couple of days later, I went I put the picture up on Cloudy Nights, as well as the RASC website. And later, so with some help of some guys, we found out the flight path that the plane was on, as well as the flight number. So those kind of things happen. And even if you don't have a tripod and you don't have a camera, you do have a camera because you can use your cell phone. These actually pictures are taken outside, actually in my office at work. I love staring outside. My friend at work, Penny, and I, we sit outside and we just look at the sunset almost every day. And you can just take normal, simple pictures and get into astrophotography. So the floor is yours. The sky is the limit, if you will. And that's it. Thank you. And I do want to say a special thanks to my wife for her patience, and my son for not getting in my way, and also my sister-in-law, who says she's going to kill me if I didn't mention her name, Khadija. So there. Any questions?
Hi. My astrophotography attempts have been frustrated by aligning the telescope and getting it accurate every night. And I'm wondering how you do it when you're stuck with no view of Polaris.
Yeah, that is actually the biggest challenge that I have every night that I set up. Most people just leave their rig up if they have an observatory. I don't have that luxury. I'm on the second floor, and it's okay. I mean, I don't have to expect someone to climb over and get at my stuff, but it's still to the point where I actually do break everything down once I'm finished. So what I do is, as you saw earlier in one of the pictures, I have points on the floor of the balcony, and I put the scope and the tripod and everything I set up, and then I do a 2-star line on the sky with the scope, and then I go into a setting which shows me what my polar alignment error is. And if it's off, so sometimes I'm off maybe 3-5 degrees. I've gotten pretty good at it now that I can get almost close to it. And what I do is I turn the mount off, I undo everything, I move the scope, I put it back in, and I test again. I have no choice. This is the only option that I have, so that's what I do. And most of the time, actually, I'm within half a degree of polar alignment error. So yeah, I got it all down pat now. So.
I just have a remark.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a remark.
Go ahead.
I met you for the first time. You brought your scope out for the first time at one of our city skies.
Yes.
At Bayview Village.
Yes.
I think this was the first time you had come out. I'm not sure you were even a member yet.
I wasn't.
And I think this was like 18 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that right?
Yep, just
so,
about that.
So this was a man with a brand new scope 18 months ago, and he has done this. It's just remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say that if you're considering getting into this, don't be afraid to go into the used market for stuff. If you're tight on budget, if you have all the money in the world, by all means, go ahead and spend as many thousands as you want to. But if you have 3-year-old kid at home, for example, then what I would suggest is there are a lot of websites online that you can go to and find things that are used. Most astrophotographers and most astronomers in general take very good care of their stuff. And then when they do decide to let it go, you're going to pretty much get some good stuff. The mount that I have actually purchased from a gentleman in Montreal. He was on his way down to Hamilton one Sunday to buy a 16-inch Dobsonium. And on his way down, he dropped it off for me. used again. The scope that I have, I bought from a gentleman out in Manitoba. Again, a lot of the things that I buy, mind you, there are things that you have to pay for, like brand new, but a lot of the things that you can buy or you can get on the used market for sure. So don't be afraid to look into that. And also, if you need help, there are resources that you can go. I've been very blessed by Jeff Booth to be invited into a group of guys that helped a lot. We share a lot of data back and forth. It is a great thing if you want to get into this. You can easily psych yourself out by obviously not knowing what you're doing, and then you can get frustrated. And I was there. I was frustrated at times. And so it's great if you can find a group of people that are into this as well, that'll be able to help you out.
Being set up on a balcony, have you had any issues with vibrations?
Yes, my son running around the apartments. Yes, there are times when I have to throw away a few exposures that I take because there is some vibration. Cars are going by sometimes in the parking lot. So yeah, I do have that. But for the most part, it's okay. It's not that too bad. I do have a few people who've actually commented, "What are you doing?" So I do get that from time to time, especially the ones that were on the other side of the buildings. They do ask, "What are you doing? Are you peering into my window?" I said, No. If you want to take a look, by all means, you can come upstairs. But no, I'm not looking into your window.
Any more questions? We're good? All right.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks again, Adrian.